I have lost Aisha forever. So the most important thing is that no pregnant women ever go through what I did again.
This is the first time Rianna Cleary is speaking out since she gave birth to a baby girl in a cell in 2019 at Europe's largest female prison, Bronzefield. This is the way she felt comfortable speaking, in her own words and in her own time.
Prison officers do not always follow policy. Look what happened to me when I pressed my cell bell twice. Nobody came.
Here's what we know happened in the critical hours. Rianna Cleary rang her call bell on 2 separate occasions. Then she stopped ringing. Officers came and flashed a light into her cell, but Rianna said she was in so much pain she couldn't call out. She passed out and was discovered in the morning by inmates with blood in her cell. Paramedics pronounced her baby dead on the scene. It's a case which shocked the coroner, who said Aisha Cleary arrived into the world in the most harrowing of circumstances. But this week he decided not to issue a report compelling changes because he was mostly satisfied that his concerns had been dealt with in the years that have passed, a decision which Rianna Cleary doesn't agree with.
I understand that the senior coroner is not making a preventing future deaths report because of all of the changes that have been made since Aisha died. But when it comes to prison, what's written on a piece of paper is never what happens in practice. The way prisons are run is all about power and control. They will never be caring places. And I still don't know whether the prison officer who refused me medical help has been sacked.
We asked Sodexo, who run the prison, for an updated statement. They referred us to their previous one, sent in July, which said, "We continue to extend our sincere condolences for the sad and tragic death of Aisha. In the 4 years that have passed, our priority has been to implement effective and positive changes in the prison." We've been following Rianna Cleary's story for months, speaking to her off camera as she relives the most horrific moment in her life. She says that she wants to speak out now to make sure that no one goes through what she's been through. And she wants Aisha's death to be the last tragic case of its kind.
I do worry that this could happen again, especially as prison in itself is a barrier for women to receive the emergency care that they might need.
Dr. Laura Abbott is a midwife who's researched pregnancy in prison. The coroner did say that although changes have been made, he still had concerns. What do you make of that?
I think the concerns are there because prison as an institution isn't geared up, it's not set up. Our research has found that prison isn't a safe place to be pregnant, where you have barriers, where you have women locked in a cell behind their door, where you have reduced staffing, where you have no midwives at night time. There are always going to be dangers.
The Ministry of Justice, who are ultimately responsible for prisoners in England and Wales, told us, "Since this tragic case, we have made meaningful progress in improving the care available for pregnant women in jail." For Rianna Cleary, though, nothing can bring Aisha back, and her focus is on questioning the decisions that led to her baby's death.
The system is cruel and will never be a safe place to have a baby. Everybody now accepts that all pregnancies in prison are high risk, so why was I sent there?
Rianna Cleary ending that report by Aisha Tull. Well, joining me in the studio is Janie Starling, who's co-director of the Gender Justice Campaign Group Level Up. Janie Starling, you've been supporting Rianna throughout this. It is a terrible, terrible case, isn't it?
It's absolutely harrowing, and I don't think any of us want to see this happen again.
And the fight that she's had to get some sort of explanation has been tough, hasn't it?
It's been over 4 years since baby Aisha Cleary died, and Rianna is still waiting for justice. She's also still waiting for meaningful changes to the system to ensure that this doesn't happen again.
Now, the coroner, interestingly, said that he wasn't going to issue one of these prevention of future deaths reports, which is essentially recommendations to prevent these things happening again. Now, he didn't do that because he says, in essence, most of his concerns had been addressed by the prison and other interested parties. Have your concerns been addressed?
No. Prison will never be a safe place to be pregnant. The only way to guarantee that no further baby deaths happen in prison is to end the imprisonment of pregnant women. So since Aisha Cleary's death 4 years ago, the Ministry of Justice, the NHS, the Prison Ombudsman all now categorise pregnancies in prison as high risk. And yet courts are still sending pregnant women there. So we have a situation now where medical professionals agree it will never be safe, yet there have been no changes to the court system. So what we need are new measures put in place to ensure that courts are not sending pregnant women to prison. Several countries have stopped sending pregnant women to prison, and we need to become one of them.
So we'll move on to that in just a moment, but that issue of the changes that have been made, Sodexo, who run Bronzefield, say they have spent these years implementing effective and positive change, but it's still your belief that prison will never be a safe place for a woman to be pregnant?
Yes, and ultimately it's not just my belief. The Royal College of Midwives have come out and said that prison will never be a safe place to be pregnant. And the Prison Ombudsman, when investigating Aisha Cleary's case, said that all pregnancies in prison are high risk by virtue of the fact that a woman is held behind locked doors for sustained periods of time. Now, inherent in that is the admission that prisons by design are never going to be safe, and ultimately the only way to keep mothers, babies, infants safe is to keep them out of prison.
So what change are you hoping for that will, in your view, make a difference?
So right now, the Sentencing Council are reviewing the way that pregnant women are sentenced and will be hopefully introducing new measures that make courts consider a pregnancy and ultimately provide alternatives to custodial sentencing. It's absolutely astonishing that those measures aren't already in place, that pregnancy isn't always considered by a court, and that there's no understanding really that effectively, when sentencing a pregnant woman to prison, courts are effectively sentencing her to a high-risk pregnancy, potentially a stillbirth, if not an emergency birth. That is totally unacceptable and needs to stop.
But I mean, the Ministry of Justice would say that things have improved in prisons for women. But in terms of not sentencing women, and I understand what you're saying about the Sentencing Council, the government have said they intend to create hundreds more prison places for women.
Absolutely, and it's completely against all of the government's own evidence that does show that custody is harmful to women, and women thrive when they're supported in their communities. And we're talking about pregnant women here. Ultimately, when women have been swept up into the criminal justice system, the best thing for them is to access support for the reasons that brought them in front of the court in the first place, which are often poverty, substance use, trauma, abuse. To give their child the best start in life, I think we can all agree that prison will never be the best start in a child's life.
I mean, we heard Rianna there really powerfully say she doesn't want anyone to go through what she has been through. How confident are you that this won't happen again?
I'm not confident at all until the government and courts put in meaningful changes to stop pregnant women going to prison. There is a very real risk that this could happen again.
Janie Starling, the co-director of the Gender Justice Campaign Group Level Up, thank you very much for talking to us today.